Good morning, boys.
We're now on our way to Barcelona. I just had a hunch, I was feeling a little bit bored. It just clicked in my head, I thought, let's go back to Spain. Let's pick somewhere that's a little bit closer to Malaga than we went last time in the last vlog. I think I did a vlog there. I know I went to Marrakesh in a vlog. I decided Barcelona. Barcelona is only around 2 hours away from the UK. It's not too far, and it's a completely different place. I think the region it's in, I think Catalan is it? Barcelona. Catalan is the place where Barcelona is. I think it's Catalan or Catalonia or something like that. I think it's Catalan. But the language they speak, you have Spanish and then you have Catalan, which I think is similar. It's like a Latin language. So, we're going to Barcelona. It's going to be exciting stuff. Never been before. And as I am very sporadic and spontaneous, I've done no research about Barcelona whatsoever. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what's going to happen. We're just going to get on a plane, drop a pin on the map, and see what we find and where we go. And I'll try and document it if I can remember. See you soon.
Alright boys, we're now at the airport about to board the plane. It was way too dark to do any clips on the way. On the motorway it was super dark. I don't know how that was going to look in editing, but this is going to be a 2-hour flight, so let's see how Spain is. Hopefully it's not going to be as rainy as it is right now, because the weather is absolute pants. Right now it's raining like crazy. It's raining buckets, and I think it's like 2 degrees. It said it's going to be like peak 14 to 18 degrees in Barcelona, so pray for me, boys. Now arrived at Barcelona. So last night there was so much traveling, I literally just crashed out and just slept instantly, so I didn't get any kind of footage or clips of the other place. Basically we were traveling all day. It was only a 2 hours flight, but as soon as I got there I literally just crashed out and just fell asleep. So now we moved to another location, so hopefully we can actually do some tourist attraction stuff. So hopefully we'll see what's on the plan for the day. So I'll just show you the room. We've only literally just arrived, as you can see. There are some hidden wardrobes in here. I don't know what's inside. As you can see, we have some robes, I guess, if you want to have a shower and then dry off, which is quite nice. Some of you guys might see if you watch some of the ecom content, sometimes I do have my robe on. Well, I don't have the robe on in the videos, but I usually have my robe on my chair because I usually wear it all day. Don't really like wearing a shirt at home. But then over here we have the suitcase, these weird strange mirrors, and this massive mirror over here. The sink's pretty nice. They say you can drink the water from it, but I'm probably not going to because they say it might give you a stomachache. Obviously, if you're not a local, it's probably not the best. And inside this second hidden compartment to the cupboard, you also have the mini bar in here. So you have your coffee machine, coffee, the cups, the milk, etc. Whatever's inside that pot. Mini bar for the fridge, although there's nothing in there. And the safe. So that's pretty good. I have been told that you might get your stuff stolen here, but I think it's mainly just in the main tourist streets in Barcelona, so as long as we're careful, should be okay. Twin bed setup. Then over here we have the mobile phone, of course, can't live without it. I do quite like this art on this wall here though, with the iguanas or the lizards or whatever they are, and these flowers. I have to say that is actually really nice. And we have our chairs over here, which look very velvety. I guess they look like rich people chairs. It doesn't really matter for me as long as they're comfortable. And then this here, I've been told, which is this massive mirror looking thing. So you could be sitting down and then you see this massive mirror. I've been told that this actually turns on the TV. So not only does it function as a mirror to admire yourself in if you're a bit vain or a bit of a weirdo, you can also whack out the remote. And I guess if, let's just emulate us laying down. I think we just press that, right? And it turns into a TV, and obviously it's in Spanish right now, but you get the idea. I'm sure there'll be some subtitles or some other programs in English, but you get the idea. Pretty rocking. So I would have not had a clue that was a TV, but it's actually pretty cool. Got all the waters over here. I'm not really that big on sparkling water, but I've been told I think these are flat still waters, so that should be pretty good. And then the Euro plug socket, which I still can't get used to because I have UK plugs, but I do like this when they have the USB-C, not USB-C, the USB-A I think they are. Normal USBs. And I don't know what this is. I don't know if that turns on the mains or if it turns on the lights, but you can use that for your chargers, which is awesome. Outside the window, we haven't got one with a view. You can see down here, there is a little bit of a terrace there too. So I don't know if that's public or if everyone can sit on it, but that's also pretty nice actually. And then there's also some more art up here too. So even though there's not much of a view, I have to say, the art on the wall is actually pretty sick. So all in all, really nice setup, I'm going to say. I'm not sure if we're going to be here for one day, maybe a few days, maybe extend it, maybe go to another spot after. I kind of have a weird habit where I like to stay at one place, then go to another just to explore, see if they're different, kind of have a different room or a different location in the city at different days of the week, so maybe I'll do that. I'll try and document as much as I can, but what I do need to be doing later is doing some work on my store. If you already follow the channel, you'll know that I do e-commerce and dropshipping, and recently I managed to finally get back on Facebook. I'm starting to see some results again because my old personal accounts got suspended. I've managed to get an agency account which has been going pretty strong for a few weeks, so the tests are going pretty decent on there. Hopefully I'll have something to scale soon. I've just topped up with some more credit on the account, so the account's back live again after a few days of being down, so the ads will be running again today. So if I get any results, I will also report on that in this vlog too. But in general, it should just be kind of like a general Barcelona vlog, even for people who aren't into dropshipping. But if you are, check out the other content, and you can also join the community link below too. So inside compartment number 1, which obviously we didn't show, this is the toilet. Now what kind of made me giggle and laugh a bit, also that's pretty cool, I guess if you just want to bounce stuff on there, it's kind of random. I don't actually know where the light is, so I guess you're going to have number 2 while the light's off. But yeah, what I always found funny is the fact that you've got a telephone in the toilet, which I guess is good for old people. I always joked about, like in my last vlog when I was in Morocco, I was like, when I saw the same thing, I said, oh look, you can call your grandma in the toilet and have a conversation while you're having, I guess, a number 2, which is not here nor there. And then you've also got like a shower head in here, so if you're not European, you'd probably be confused about this. This is obviously a bidet. This is, you know, where you can wash your extremities, I guess is a nice way of putting it, manually. Now in Japan, you always have these funky bidet machines basically that are just spray and praying on you automatically, which I guess, I don't know if that's comfortable or not. I've never used one personally. Don't feel comfortable about using a public one, but I imagine it'd be a good piece of hardware to have in your house. But yeah, I guess you're gonna have to do your business in the dark and then use the phone to have a bit of entertainment. I guess it's like a home cinema in here. And in here we have the shower as well. Oh, actually, I think this is, these are the light switches, no? Yeah, okay, they have these tiny light switches. I should have seen that in the toilets. You have the towel racks, you have the towel on the floor, a shower head. This is interesting as well, which you see in a lot of hotels. You have the manual shower head, which has like 1 or 2 modes, and then you have the absolute monster on the ceiling. I prefer to have on this setting because I just like a nice hot shower, just like completely covered. And then we also have a bunch of soap dispensers here. There's another one of these holders. I don't know why, but it's pretty cool. Obviously a place to drain the water. You get the idea. You don't need an explanation. But all in all, pretty solid room. Like I said, I didn't show the first one because I was absolutely shattered, but this definitely tops it. I think this is the Placa De Catalunya. I think that's how you pronounce it, unless it's Placa. Placa De Catalunya. So this is Placa De Catalunya. This area, we've got the fountains, we've got all the birds over here. Also got some statues and some street performers playing on the piano. Then over here, if we look to the right, we have these red buses, these Barcelona tour buses, which are very reminiscent of the buses in London. This main square is absolutely dominated by pigeons. Look how many pigeons are here. There's literally about 1 million pigeons across the square. There's some incredible architecture and buildings though, to be fair. And then over here we've got some food stands. I'm not sure if I can zoom in. But the amount of pigeons here is just ridiculous. It reminds me of that scene from Home Alone where that woman's like, I mean even the Asian woman over there is playing with like the pigeons. It's like that crazy pigeon woman from Home Alone. Let's do a quick panorama shot. This is Passeig De Gracia, which is where all the designer shops are, I believe. So, still on the same street, this is where all the designer shops are. The Louis Vuitton, and across the street they've also got the Rolex. Very similar to Switzerland over here. Got some really big hotels as well. I don't know what Suarez is, but that looks like a rich store. Also got Cartier watch store. This is the Casa Mila La Pedrera. This is the Gaudi masterpiece, I believe, another architectural piece. Let's check it up close up. I know this is supposed to be like an old-fashioned Victorian place, but it gives you a bit creepy vibes, especially with this doll here. It's like a Doctor Who time machine in here. It's like going into the TARDIS or something, isn't it? I wonder if this is a one-way system. Gotta watch your heads on that. This building's not designed for someone like me. Now the rooftop is probably the most famous part of La Pedrera, which you'll probably be able to see from these shots. These weird helmet looking things which you might be able to see are actually the chimneys, but Gaudi, the architect, wanted them to look somewhat artistic, so they kind of resemble heads of warriors or some kind of alien statues you'd probably expect to see on like an ancient aliens documentary. Some say George Lucas got inspired by these for Star Wars, but who knows, that's probably just a rumour. Anyway, the rooftop of this place, although it looks kind of weird, like you're in some kind of ancient Egyptian, Mayan or Aztec blended temple place, it actually has some really cool views of the city of Barcelona, of the streets and all around the surrounding buildings. In the distance you can see the other Gaudi building behind, which is the cathedral as well. And it's a long way down. Luckily there is fences though. This is the house of Gaudi, the Casa Battlo. Might just be very similar to the one we've just been in, but have to take a look. The line is absolutely mega though. This one is a little bit similar to the first tourist site, but it is one of the architect's craziest designs. Now you'd think this was built by an artist who's on some kind of mushrooms, but this was actually a house for, yet again, a super rich family. Now the whole of the outside you probably saw looked like it was made out of bones and scales, which is why people actually call this one the House of Bones. And like I said, since he was all about nature and fantasy, it does make sense. Some say that the inspiration behind this is the legend of St. George slaying a dragon, which you'll know if you're British. What I do really like though is the interior. As you go up the stairs, you have this crazy waterfall picturesque view, which is actually a projection on the wall. This rainfall effect is literally just from a projector. Presumably, I don't think they'd be able to have this back in the day, right? So it must be a new edition. And you'll see a lot of trippy things like this even later in the video in the Sagrada Familia in the underground section. Speaking of the St. George reference again, the roof, supposedly the dragon's back with its colourful scales. The balconies, they look like skulls or masks, which adds the creepy and cool vibe. And the columns you might see, they just straight up look like bones. Imagine living here as a rich 1900s family and your house literally looks like a fantasy castle. I mean, that's definitely a flex, I can't lie. The roof is basically covered in mosaic tiles that shimmer in the light just like the dragon scales would. And supposedly the big tower with the cross is St. George's sword, symbolising the dragon's defeat. So there's a brand called Cacao, which is like a chocolate milk in Spain, and I feel like I'm probably really dumb here, but I'm pretty sure this must be owned by Coca-Cola, because I mean, look at the logo. Who's ripping off who? The Sagrada Familia. The weather is absolute pants right now, but amazing structure. Ben & Jerry's shop over here, I've never seen those in the UK, I don't know if that's an American thing, but... From the side there is active construction and renovation, but from the front this church is absolutely massive. It looks like something out of a fantasy movie, and it's not even finished still after over 140 years. So we finally got to the Sagrada Familia. We tried about 4 or 5 times to get tickets here. It literally took about 2 hours to actually get through. Went through about 3 different ticket partners, but finally we've actually managed to get tickets. Apparently you can only book them online, which is a bit of a pain in the ass. So this is another one which was designed by Antoni Gaudi, and he probably was the most patient guy ever because he knew this would take forever to actually build. Construction originally started in 1882 and it's still not done. It's supposed to allegedly be finished by 2026, which would be the 100th anniversary of his death, but honestly with how slow things go, I wouldn't bet on that happening. Now if you're looking at this one and thinking this doesn't look like a normal church, then you're right, because most cathedrals are symmetrical and structured. This one though, it looks like it grew out of the ground naturally, like some kind of giant stone forest. Gaudi, of course, with his nature designs, can be seen with his influence in all of the structures. You might see a little bit later that the towers are striky. There'll be 18 of them when it's finished, and the tallest one will be 172.5 meters, which would make it the tallest church in the world. And since he believed that nature didn't do straight lines, everything here in this structure is curved, organic, and just generally kind of trippy. canopy. Each of the facades tell a different story from the Bible. The nativity side is all about life and birth, whilst the passion side is darker and more intense, which shows the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. The glory facade, well, that's one of them that's still under construction, but it's pretty cool when you read about it because every corner of this place has some kind of insane meaning behind it. He really thought everything through. Columns that stretch all the way up to the ceiling branch out like a forest canopy, and they look like tree trunks, like you're in a natural sanctuary. The stained glass windows were designed so that light changes throughout the day, which makes the inside feel different during the morning, afternoon and evening. So this place is flooded with the natural light, so it feels peaceful and alive, unlike old Gothic cathedrals. One reason why it's taken so long is his designs were so complex that builders back then had no actual idea how to actually make them or complete them, whereas now with modern tech, things are going much faster. Underground, I'm not sure if it's the catacombs or just underneath the church, there's a really nice section which has a lot of different showcases and models, and this really nice light show, which was a particularly nice vibe in the dark. Now for the funding of the church, this whole thing is actually built with donations, not the government's money, which was a big surprise when I learned this. When funds slow down, the construction slows down. The Spanish Civil War in the 1930s destroyed a bunch of Gaudi's original plans and models, so they had to figure out things from scratch, which I'm sure was a big headache. Gaudi was literally so obsessed with building and designing this thing that he literally lived inside the church while working on it, and he's actually buried in there too. Because unfortunately he was hit by a tram in 1926 and died. Talk about lost potential, because this guy was a genius. Once it's finished, it will be taller than St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican, which is officially the tallest church in the world right now. The tallest tower though represents Jesus, and the next tallest ones represent Mary, the Apostles and the Evangelists. Honestly, Sagrada Familia isn't just a church, it's also an art piece. It's a history lesson, and there's so many references and meanings to it, and it's definitely an engineering marvel which is still being worked on by many great minds in this moment. And hey, if you come back in 2026, maybe you'll actually see it finished. Now there's a window where you can see the burial section of the church underground, and there's just this random guy playing piano on there. So now I'm in the Gothic Quarter, which is the oldest and most historic part of Barcelona. It's over 2,000 years old, so we're literally walking through what used to be ancient Rome's city of Barcino. But don't just expect medieval castles, because there's a lot of hidden gems filling this area, like cool little alleyways and some crazy history. I'll show you a little bit more of it after. And right next to it you have another cathedral, this time the Barcelona Cathedral, which is a lot smaller than the Sagrada Familia, but still humble in its own right in its interior, which I'll show you in a few moments. What I do like about this area though is it's absolutely packed full of people, it's really busy, and it's a big nice open space with lots of different shops, but what shines is the amazing live music, which you'll see around all of Barcelona, which is one of the big pluses about the city. You'll see classical guitarists to jazz bands, and even this guy that I shot who's playing the electric guitar. There's a lot of good street performance here, so you'll hear an echo from the narrow streets, which makes the music sound even better too. And if you hear someone playing, just stop and enjoy the vibe, and especially when it's a hot day like it was when I visited, it's just super cool to see. This is the Barcelona Cathedral called La Catedral de la Santa Cruz y Santa Eulalia, which is probably terrible Spanish on my behalf, and it's a mouthful, but basically it's the OG cathedral before Sagrada Familia stole all of its attention, and this place has been standing for over 600 years, and it's full of insane Gothic details and some wild history. Now this is another one that looks like it's straight out of a medieval fantasy. Crazy tall spires, super detailed carvings and massive doors, and that's the classic Catalan Gothic architecture look. A little bit darker and moodier than you'll see in other parts of Spain, and what we saw at the Sagrada Familia. This was built between the 13th and 15th century, but its neo-Gothic facade was added in the 19th century, so it's not all as old as it seems. And if you look closely, you might see some hidden dragons, unicorns, and even an elephant carved into the building as gargoyles. So this is the cathedral in Barcelona, the Barcelona Cathedral. This is the roof access area. As you can see, they've got some construction going on there right now, so it doesn't really look as pretty as it might do at other points, but you can have quite a view of the city. It's not as high as some of the other points we've been though. Over there I guess some people are on the balcony eating some food. If I zoom in a bit, you can see people having coffee and cakes on the terrace on the balcony, which looks quite nice. But there's a lot of construction going on around here. But just think about the architecture. I think this is Gothic architecture here. All the craftsmanship and planning that went into all these old buildings, you just got to stop and appreciate it sometimes. Santa Eulalia is one of Barcelona's patron saints, and she has a brutal story. She protested against the Romans persecuting Christians at 13, and they arrested and tortured her in 13 ways, one for each year of her life. She was rolled down the street in a barrel full of knives. Medieval torture was next level, and her remains are allegedly buried right under the cathedral's altar in the crypt. So although this place looks beautiful, it has some seriously dark history, which is kind of dark. This building over here, if I zoom in, looks exactly like the Avengers Tower of Marvel, except it's not as big. Now this might be the strangest part of the cathedral. There's a hidden cloister with 13 white geese living inside, which I thought was swans. And you're probably wondering why. Well, it's another reference to the age of that girl, who was 13 when she died, so they basically keep 13 geese in her memory. Also, back in medieval times, geese worked like security alarms, so if someone tried to sneak into the cloister at night, the geese would basically just freak out and make enough noise to wake everyone up. All in all, this outside part is actually really beautiful, but I saw something kind of creepy. There was a geese egg, and then, well, you'll see what happens. The egg that we saw a few moments ago is literally cracked open. That's actually pretty, that's pretty crazy, isn't it? It's only been about 5 minutes. It's going to be a Jurassic Park situation where a dinosaur comes out of it. This is Placa de Jaume, and it's the political heart of Barcelona. It's been the centre of power in Catalonia for hundreds of years, and there's two of the most important city buildings here, one for the Catalan government and one for the City Council of Barcelona. First you have the Palais de la Generalitat, Catalan government building, and also the Ajuntament de Barcelona, which is the city hall, and both of these sit opposite to each other. The square name is Placa de Jaume, and it's been a place of both power and protest for thousands of years, dating back to the Roman times. This square is literally built on top of an ancient Roman forum, so you're technically standing on 2,000 years of history here. And also I found these weird mannequins just sitting in the window just creepily staring at me, and I was kind of freaked out. This is Placa Reial, and it's a famous square which is near La Rambla, one of the most famous streets, which I didn't really document enough, and it's known for its neoclassical architecture and its palm trees, and it's just generally a nice spot. Mercat de la Boqueria is right next to La Rambla, and it's one of the most famous food markets in the world, and around since 1217, so it's over 800 years of people buying fresh food here, and today it's packed with locals, tourists, and some of the best food stalls in Barcelona, and you'll see a wall of colours and smells, fresh fruit rows, juices and snacks, and food from Asia and South America. There's a lot of multicultural sellers here selling a lot of different foods. Now don't buy things from the first stall you'll see, walk a bit further inside and you'll find some better prices. Now it does smell because there's a crazy selection of seafood stalls, meat stalls, cheese and tapas, hot food, sweets, chocolate, ice cream, you get the deal, there's a ton. Although one or two stores I'll see weren't exactly practicing very good sanitary measures, which put me off buying some of the seafoods and meats. You know I had to do it to them boys, dropping by Zara near La Rambla, got myself a haul, nice button up shirt and a puffer. Now after making all that money with drop shipping, I definitely do like a little bit of shopping. If you know me, I don't really spend my money, but if you also know me, I absolutely love Lego ever since I was a kid, and I dropped by the Lego store. I haven't been to one since I was in Denmark, and this one was sick. I ended up buying a cool chrome silver keychain. So today we went to the Barcelona Cathedral, and we went inside some kind of like heritage building. It was like a museum in an old-fashioned house, but it was completely free entry. It was quite small. I can't remember if I took any videos or clips of it. And then we also went down Las Ramblas, which is the most popular tourist street around here. You have loads of different shops, a lot of different culture. And in there, which I did record some clips of, there was a food market, which was super cool. It was mostly South American, Southeast Asian, a lot of different nationalities in there selling things like salmon, fish, chicken, different delicacies from all around the world, some really nice sweet treats. We didn't buy anything from there, but there's some great places to explore. So all in all, the day's been pretty good. But also, I will say, what I've noticed while being in Barcelona, the shopping experience is absolutely mega. I'm going to say the shopping is mint. Shops everywhere. Got a pretty decent haul today. Let's check it out. First up is the haul from Zara. I'm not usually a huge clothes guy, although recently I've been trying to get some better wardrobe items. Now you can't see this because I've only got one hand, but this is a puffer jacket from Zara. So this is the first piece of the haul from Zara. This is a puffer jacket. Got this in size large, as you can see. It's around €40. It's actually a really nice fit. I'll put some photos up on screen right now so you can see it. Pretty solid coat, to be honest. Then also we went in the Lego store, which is really cool. You don't really get to see Lego stuff usually, or Lego stores, unless you're in the capital city, or unless you actually go to Legoland itself. But the only thing I got from there is literally just this silver keychain. It's like a silver minifigure man. I got one of these a few years ago. I think I got this in like 2021 or 2022 in gold when I went to the Legoland in Billund, Denmark. So I thought I'd get the silver one that can go together with it. Cool thing about keychains is you get some really cool figures, but you can't take off like the keychain and keep the figure intact. There used to be a few methods to do that, but it's just really hard, so I don't even bother anymore. But that's pretty cool. I do need to get a Barcelona keychain though before I leave, because I'm a little bit of a collector. I like to collect keychains from every city I go to, kind of like as a memento. Also got this ultra sharp razor kit, this brawn beard trimmer, because I forgot to bring my beard trimmer. My neck hair is starting to get kind of overgrown right now, and I don't want to look homeless in a few days. The one problem I've realised is this is going to use an EU connector. So when I take this back to the UK, I'm going to have to either get a different charger, or I'm going to have to just use it when I travel to Europe, because the voltage is going to be different. And I know trimmers and stuff like that have different voltages and plugs, and it'll end up like blowing up and then blowing my face off, or giving me like 10-degree burns or something, so probably not going to use that. Also got a pretty nice shirt from Zara here as well. Basically like a button-up polo shirt. This one I actually got this in small, as all sizes for clothes are going to be different. The reason I got this in small is because this is a bit more fitted. This was about €23. I don't know what this rounds down to in pounds or rounds up to in dollars, but all in all pretty solid. Probably spent about €70 in Zara. Spent another €70 on that beard trimmer, and like €6 in the Lego shop. Here we are at the Triumphal Arch of Barcelona. Apparently this is the access point of I think it's the 1888 World Fair of Barcelona, and honorary to George Leno, apparently. I'm not quite sure who he is, but I had a quick scan of the Wikipedia page, and we'll go check it out. There's some massive building behind it. I don't know if it's a government building. This is one of Barcelona's most famous landmarks, and no, it's not the one from Paris, because Barcelona has its own version and it has a totally different vibe. Unlike the Parisian one, which is more about war and battles, this one was built to celebrate progress, science and innovation. Behind it is the entire walkway, which is the promenade, and it's one of the best chill spots in the city, which will lead straight to the Parc de la Ciutadella, which is one of the most beautiful parks, which we'll get onto soon. This is a walking spot where you might see some skating, and the street performers and musicians here playing the live music are equally as good as the ones from the Gothic Quarter. Parc de la Ciutadella is Barcelona's biggest park, and it's basically the city's backyard. There's lush gardens, a massive fountain designed by Gaudi, a lake with rowboats, and even a secret mammoth statue there. It's a good spot for sightseeing. Now, I thought it was a little bit underwhelming, but perhaps I didn't see 100% of it. This is the Parc de la Ciutadella. This is some X-Files stuff right over here, and yeah, that guy is real. He does move. Seems to be some kind of botanical gardens in here, or some kind of flowers we can go have a look at. If you take a right detour, you'll find something which most people miss. It's a cool little hidden botanical section with some old school greenhouses which are full of some unique plants and trees. Kind of feels like you're stepping into a mini jungle in Barcelona. They're actually historical greenhouses from the 19th century which are designed to preserve exotic plants that wouldn't usually grow in Barcelona's climate. There's the Winter Garden and the Shade House. They were abandoned for a while, but the city restored them so you can enjoy them today. So I'm just taking a little scenic walk through the park here. You can hear the birds chirping, there's some pretty chillax vibes. It's not actually too busy in the park, it's quite a big open area and people kind of spread out a little bit. But you'll notice, just like in the previous section at the very start of this video, you would have saw at that point in the vlog, there's just absolutely tons of pigeons, and they are here too. There's also some cool fountains and there's a little animal museum there too, which I didn't go in. And you'll realise, yes, if you have been to any areas of Spain, you'll notice there's an absolute ton of orange trees, although I don't really trust to pick them and eat them. Barcelona Zoo. Insert some Jurassic Park music here, although I'd probably get copyrighted. This is right next to the park, and it's one of the oldest and most historic zoos in Spain, and it's right next to the Parc de la Ciutadella, and it's been home to over 400 species since 1892, the first of which being the bird section, which you'll see has multiple bird enclosures, home to a variety of wonderful, colourful, exotic species. You might see things like parrots, owls, and tropical birds from all around the world. Some of these species are part of the zoo's breeding and conservational programs. Now, I'm not really a squeamish person, but if you're not a fan of creepy crawlies, this is possibly a part of the zoo that might freak you out a bit and you might want to skip. But it's an interesting section and it has some creatures, everything from giant millipedes and armoured water bugs like trilobites to ants that literally build highways through tubes. Those weird water bugs just look kind of crazy and definitely prehistoric. I'm not sure if that's what they are, but I think I was possibly most creeped out though by the locusts or the grasshoppers, whatever those were. It's kind of like a horror movie, like Creature from the Black Swamp or something. And then you just have all those disgusting cockroaches, which I saw when I was in Morocco. But the ant colony is one of the coolest things. They basically are in a see-through tube system where you can literally watch them working in real time, transferring all of this debris. And the little guys are basically nature's construction workers. They're building tunnels, carrying food and farming fungus, which they basically create a tiny insect city out of right in front of your eyes. And you can see right at the end of the tube, if we just follow the camera, it actually ends up being inside their burrow or hive. I'm not sure what the word is. And then of course you have more disgusting cockroaches before the house insect section. A redeeming factor though is the meerkats, which are some of the most entertaining animals to watch. These are basically the security guards in nature and they're always on the lookout staying on their hind legs. It was pretty cool because there's a cute little warren that they're sleeping in, which has this little infrared light to give them some heat, I presume, which is really cool to see. Also, there was some extremely busy monkeys doing absolutely nothing. Now, in between all the enclosures, there's this little hidden fountain area, which was a nice spot to take a break, and the big brown bear, which obviously is one of the most powerful predators, and he's just peacefully munching on some fruit. But don't let that fool you, because this guy is obviously terrifying. I googled it, and apparently bears can run up to 35 miles an hour, climb trees, and even swim, so good luck getting away if it escapes. Now, I always find the penguins fun to watch. In fact, I had like a childhood photo where I was next to this tanker of swimming penguins right next to my head, which is always a great memory. Now, these are Humboldt penguins, which are native to Chile and Peru, and they're actually a warm weather species, not the Antarctic ones you might have seen before. They also have seals. Now, unlike sea lions, seals don't have external ear flaps, just tiny holes, and they use the back flippers to propel themselves in the water, and the front ones to steer, and they're extremely loud. They can hold their breath for several minutes while diving for fish too. Now, don't get distracted if I keep switching from vertical to landscape in this video, because sometimes I forget to film in both aspects. So I walked into the alligator section and for a solid minute I was 100% convinced these things were fake. Like, they just didn't move, they didn't blink, they just sat there looking like plastic props from a Steven Spielberg movie set. But then eventually you'll see that I did spot one tiny little alligator and it actually moved and it was floating with the flow of the water. And that's when I finally accepted that, okay, these guys are real, just really good at being statues. And I'm not exactly still sure if the bigger ones were real, maybe they just had one real one and the rest were fakes. Still not entirely convinced. Alright, so this zoo has a lot of monkeys, and honestly watching them is better than any reality TV show, because you've got tiny ones, big ones, smart ones, and some that just looks like they're kind of trying to plot their next escape plan. Now, they have some pretty tiny ones, like I'm pretty sure they have squirrel monkeys, they have lemurs, they have those shoulder monkeys, you know, the Moroccan market style ones that you just randomly get jumping on you in Marrakesh. I honestly don't know the species name. And then you also have lemurs, which I only remember because I remember watching Madagascar as a kid. To cut it short, there's just basically tons of monkeys, and I'm not exactly a biologist, so I couldn't name them all for you, and I didn't bother to read the sign, but you get the idea. So seeing a wolf in the zoo is pretty cool, but imagine actually seeing one in the wild. I'd be pretty terrified. Even if they move gracefully behind the glass, you can just tell they're built for hunting and you wouldn't really have much of a chance. The Africa section's pretty cool too. Now on that cliff there was actually a lion, but it went out of frame, so I couldn't get a good shot of it unfortunately. I wasn't sure what these small marsupial looking guys were, but I'm pretty sure these are mini armadillos, or maybe anteaters. Now I always thought hyenas were kind of dog sized, but from a distance they looked absolutely huge, way bigger than I expected, but when you get closer you realise, yeah, they do kind of have dog-like faces. But I'm not going to let that fool me, because they lock with their jaw like a pit bull, but worse, they have the strongest bite, and imagine a pack of those things. They also have some bison which are absolutely massive. I mean, they'd be kind of like living bulldozers with fur if you saw them in the wild. Vultures, the human garbage disposal unit. Imagine just falling off a cliff and breaking your ankle, or maybe you just starve in the wild and you have these things pecking at you. I mean, they can smell death from a mile away. It'd be pretty terrifying. But after those post-apocalyptic nightmare fuel vultures, we can relax and just admire the pink glow of flamingos, which are probably the only cool birds that are actually worth looking at. Interesting choice of art. So I'm at the bottom of La Rambla, where the famous street, which I probably didn't cover enough, finally meets the sea. So after you go past all the shops, the street performers and the more crazy energy, it's a little bit more open and relaxed, and this is where it ends and Port Vell begins. But first of all, you have this massive column, which is the Columbus Monument, and it was built in 1888 to honour Christopher Columbus. And if you ever wondered why it's actually here, it's because Barcelona is where he returned after his first voyage to the Americas, which is a nice little fact for you, which I also had no clue about. Researching for this vlog has actually been pretty eye-opening. Just across from the Columbus Monument, right by the waterfront, there's a small market stall which sells everything from souvenirs and crafts, local snacks and street art, and it's good to have a more relaxed view away from La Rambla, which is less of a tourist trap. There's also the Port Authority of Barcelona, a massive historic building, and by there, it's right next to the marina, where you'll see some insane luxury yachts if you're lucky too. A lot of them are smaller ones though, but it's a perfect mix of old school elegance and modern waterfront vibes. Now if you continue walking from here, you'll see the big floating bridge which leads to the other side of the harbour. It actually moves to let boats through, so sometimes you have to wait while it opens, and it makes this alarm sound when they're about to open and close it, which is kind of a shock at first, but it's perfect as a spot to see an amazing view of the sunset or sun. I guess this is kind of the behind the scenes and outtakes part of the video, because I can't remember where these pictures were from or where I should have inserted them because I forgot, but there were some really weird statues of singers, these kind of like pop art sculptures, which I thought were kind of weird. And I also forgot to include these pictures from when I got the haul from Zara, just to show you what I ended up buying. And then after I went in a mall and I saw this huge life-size one-to-one sculpture of a stormtrooper off Star Wars Rebels, which was pretty cool. And I did miss showing you some of the city views. For an example, you have like a castle on the top of the hill, which I didn't go to, and this university or church, and there was also like a Moroccan and Arabic district. I am half Arabic, so I do like to go around these areas, and it was pretty nice. Now in the airport before I left, in Barcelona airport, in one of the shops there was some really cool merch, and I was looking at Barcelona stuff, and the Real Madrid gear was actually pretty cool, so I took a few pictures to share with someone, but I thought I'd just include it in the vlog. I forgot to mention it, but I did also buy a Barcelona shirt in the vlog. I don't think I showed it in the vlog. This has taken many days to actually edit, but it cost me like 120 euros. Apparently if I took my passport back I could get like a partial refund, but I couldn't be bothered. And apparently if you're a local it costs like a fraction of the price, just like the tickets do. Also the airport vending machine was really weird, like you could buy things like Iberian ham and salted meats and stuff in the vending machine, and just random like trinkets and trophies to bring back home with you, which was pretty cool. And I captured this really nice sunset which I shared with someone as well, so I thought I'd just show that in the video too. It's a good way to end off the video and say subscribe, like the video, follow me for business advice, and maybe more vlogs when I can be bothered to upload them. And if you're interested to see what I actually do and why I can go on these trips, I do e-commerce and dropshipping, so check out the videos on the channel, and you can click the link below if you want to join my community and maybe it's something you're interested in yourself to make some money online.